Hello everyone, Clue back with you with another video. Oh, I wish video ended with a U. I would have had a master rhyme here, man. Triple rhyme. Triple kill. Such a dumbass. Welcome back to another video. My name is Clementine. This is a drawing channel, Clementine Creative. Why am I failing? I am failing in video making. But yeah, again, and this is the last time, welcome back to this video. This time in this video, what we're going to be taking a look at is taking the pose from the previous video where we drew poses, and we're going to draw a character design. Before I dive into specifically what we'll be doing with this girl, let me just say that sometimes when I draw, I forget to click the record button. And this happened to me while I was drawing this particular piece, or these pieces. There's 4 drawings in total, all very simple design, nothing complicated. And also the line art is nothing too magnificent. It's more of a sketching thing. But the point of it is that I was drawing the 3rd character, and I accidentally forgot to click the record button. So we only have 3 recordings, which would be the 1st, the 2nd, and the 4th design, and the 3rd one I accidentally didn't record. So I hope it's not too bad of a loss. We still have 3, but let's start talking about what it is that I want to talk about in this video. What I want to talk about is something that it's a reoccurring thing in video games, is the balance, not a balance, but the difference between sexy, really exposed characters, and then let's talk about female. Now we're talking strictly female characters. So, there's a difference in video games where some choose to have really sexy or sexed up girls, really exposed. Their armor in real life would serve absolutely no good purpose except if it was to, defend their boobs and crotch, because that's literally the only thing they have on sometimes. But that is, again, another thing. It's not something that should be shamed or should be bashed in any way. It's the kind of style that we choose to attract customers. People like that kind of stuff. Video game is a world of imagination, and why should we prevent, having a world where all the girls are super sexy? Because, that's just the kind of thing that goes through the mind of developers or concept artists. If you're drawing a world, especially if it's not Call of Duty or not Battlefield, where it has to be real life based. If you're drawing something fantasy like League of Legends or anything in that spectrum of fantasy, why would you go real? We already know what real life looks like, so let's make all the girls be super sexy, or vice versa, and that's totally fine. But then there are some video games, like Horizon Zero Dawn is a very good example, where we have a female character that is still basically definitely maintains the beauty aspect of a female character, but has a lot of armor on, which still makes her look very attractive. So today what I'm trying to do is taking this samurai design. Now I decided to go with samurai-ish design because I love Japan, and I love samurais and anything Asian related. I mean, all of the cultures around the world have something very interesting, but Japan still keeps some of these old traditions. Like in our country, there's not a whole lot of that left, I would say. Definitely more in Japan than in our country. But really, let's talk about how I'm going to go about doing this. So the whole premises of this video is taking this very simple design, this very simple samurai girl design, and making her look more and more exposed, more and more sexy. So we're gonna slowly start to prioritize looks over function. That means that the entire armor is going to become less conventional, less useful. A lot of areas of her body will start to get exposed more, which means that in actual battle that would not be a good thing. But since it's a video game, and armor is really more of a look thing than it is a stats thing, something that would increase your status in video games. Of course, that's the reason why you put it on, but that's not the main attraction of the armor. It's not its power, it's the way it looks. In most fantasy games, I would say that it's these lines are very close together. You want something that looks nice and is good, right? That's what a lot of people want. So we start with this. You can see here we're gonna have three three more to draw. So we start with this really, I would say very geared up girl. And now we're gonna gear her down and, expose her boobs, expose her shoulders a little bit. And let's just talk about what you want to do when you want to sex up these characters, if that's the way. I hope it's not a really bad way to say it. I really don't know what you would call this, but when you try to make your characters more sexy, what should you expose? Rule number one in these kind of things is always avoid direct nudity. You don't have to expose a girl's boobs or her crotch to make her look sexy. And in fact, that is the last thing you should do, because that is not as sexy or as tempting as seeing a girl's shoulder. Now, why is that? That is the reason because men and women alike have this thing where when you see somebody dressed and then, you have this image of them, and then when they expose something, you see a delicate part, a part that is, can be bruised. And knowing, because we humans know what a human body looks like, whether it's male or female, we know what comes next. But seeing only, let's say, a thigh or only a shoulder, these are kind of the attraction points. I'm going to talk about from my perspective of a male, because that's what I am, so I can only say for myself at least, is shoulders, thighs, hips, stomach, I guess boob cracks, butts. These are the kind of thing, and not when I say a butt, I don't even mean the entire butt. I just mean like the upper part or the lower part. It really depends on what you're trying to get out. When I say upper part, I mean pants that are, let's say, really low down to the waist, so it exposes a lot of your back and almost a little bit of your butt. But we're talking about the lower part of the butt, and we're talking about, let's say, a really mini skirt that shows the undersides of your butt. I don't know what those would be called, or by your legs. I don't know, you know what I mean. Or really, if you look at women with really, really short pants, they usually have those lines on their butt where the legs or where the thighs come in, which are exposed. And that is the one thing that you want to expose if you want to make a really hot character. But you don't want to expose the most hottest parts of a girl. That means hot zones, let's say the crotch, the butt, and the boobs, right? You don't need to expose those in order to make a character look sexy. What you need to expose is the areas around them, because those are the areas that lead to the hot zones. Now, what are some of those areas? Shoulders are some of those areas. Those are, in movies, you can see whenever women shower or whenever they come out of, let's say, a hot spring, you can always see them holding their arms, and it kind of shows their face from the three-quarter view almost, from behind, and you can always see her shoulder. It's just something that attracts to men and women, and it's something that makes your heart race a little bit, It's something that, you skip a little bit of a heartbeat, and you get this interest. You want to see more, and that's what you like about characters. You don't necessarily get to see more, right? But that's what you like. That's what we like about characters. Especially in fantasy video games. The less geared up they are, the more vulnerable they look like, the more we like them, because the more they are geared up, let's say this girl in the beginning, the first design, she looks tough. She looks like somebody that's going to definitely kick her ass. But the more a girl is exposed, it gives her a different kind of confidence. It gives her confidence that maybe she has a soft side that she wants to expose, or maybe she's tough enough that she, in the sense that I don't need armor. I can look good and be strong, right? So there's that thing. It's very hard to say exactly what it is that you're trying to convey, but always remember that the hot zones, which would be, let's say, crotch, boobs, and butt, is not the thing you want to expose. That is not the thing that gives, I would say, the element of sexiness. If anything, it's very immature, because video games are usually not about nudity anyways. If they are, they're always part of this design. One example would be Far Cry. Even Far Cry 3 and Far Cry Primal had the same thing, where a woman's boobs were exposed, but she had like paint over them, which is obviously a tribal thing, and boobs in certain tribes don't really mean anything. It's sort of something that in our society we see boobs as a sexual thing. In some other cultures they might not, so it's really different, right? And boobs are a lot of times when they expose them, that's something you can see also in Dark Souls, maybe in Bloodborne. They use them in more grotesque creatures. It looks look more grotesque than sexy. Before I finish all that I'm saying, now you can see me draw the fourth one. The third one I missed, but you can still see it drawn. Now we're trying a really sexy character, something you might probably see in League of Legends, okay? So really exposed character. And since we're already on this step, we can now talk about some of the things that I'm going to expose. What I do expose is a lot of her upper body. So a lot of her shoulder, to where her shoulder blades, is that what the, no, collarbone, sorry. Her collarbones are exposed, and a vast majority of the upper breast side is now exposed. And we give minimal amount of armor on the shoulders. You're going to see that just in a second. The reason to expose her shoulders, basically, shoulders have this really nice shape, especially on female characters, because women have much less visible muscles, or much less defined muscles, and the shapes that their body can make in their particular body is a lot sexier. That's why women without clothing look sexier than men without clothing. Even if men have six packs, and you know, it's a general norm that men with not a norm, it's a almost like, not a fact, but it's generally preferred that sexy men have six packs, right? But the sexiest man in the world probably wouldn't look as the sexiest girl in the world. I don't think so, because women have that sort of a thing about them. They're just creatures that we usually perceive as beautiful. So we're trying to expose, you can see that we're also exposing her arms. These are a lot of the things that, you know, again, make your heart beat, right? So we expose her arms. I think her arms are really thick though. Have you noticed how thick I drew that arm? Is that just me? Never mind. Anyways, yeah, you can see here on the left side how we drew her, right? A little bit more shoulder guards. Here on the right side, we see a lot less shoulder guards. The arms are just wrapped in some, what would they, like a string, almost like for Muay Thai users, if you know what Muay Thai is. And, you know, we see this kimono-ish skirt. Really exposes her. You can see a little hole on the side by the belt. It exposes the part of the hip, and that's, again, makes it really sexy, especially because we know that she's naked under there. And that's basically the thing that makes us excited about characters, is the thought that we know that, oh, look at that. That means that she doesn't have anything under there. And that's what excites. That's what creates the sexy factor. It's also the feeling that the character is vulnerable, even if it's not. And now imagine that you have a character that looks very sexy, very vulnerable, but it's really not. It's actually a really powerful character, right? Like a lot of female characters in League of Legends. They look sexy, they look hot, but then they're really strong as well. So it's combining two things that are already awesome together. The result is always going to be nice. You know, women and something like a big-ass gun that's powerful will always look awesome together. So yeah, remember, whenever you're trying to make your characters more sexy, you're trying to make them more like in League of Legends, again, not bashing anything, it's completely fine, it just depends on the style of your game. Remember not to expose the red zones, I like to call them, the crotch, the boobs, and the butt. The reason why is because that is not what is actually sexy about women. In this case, we're talking about women. What's sexy is everything around them, the actual body shape. You know, we have the hips. You know how sometimes they really exaggerate the hip, like they make the part of the hips that goes inside really, really small gap, like not a small gap, but like it goes really into the body, like nothing, no organs can fit in there. Again, it's just something we do to stylize the characters to make them look more appealing, because that's what, you know, this is all about, is to make appealing characters that people would pay money for. At the end of the day, of course, you know, is what you're trying to do. And this is one way of doing it. But yeah, this is pretty much it for this video. I hope it wasn't too sexual for you, but that's just how it is with these kind of videos. If you want to make your character sexy, remember to expose the parts around the red zones. You know, a girl whose stomach is exposed is a lot more sexy than a girl that's completely naked. That's just kind of how it is. Most cosplayers too, I think, you would prefer that some of those cosplayers that have only certain areas revealed are much sexier than a naked woman. And that's also might be something that was programmed in our brains by just watching anime, you know, especially if you're an anime lover. But yeah, this is it for this video. Again, hope you were able to stomach through it with all this sexuality. I don't know. But yeah, I guess I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Everything changes.